And we're on. Welcome aboard, Sinead. How are you, mate?
G'day, Bish. How are you again?
Oh, mate.
I swear there's 2 Tuesdays every week.
I think what happened last week is we got together on Sunday, Tuesday, and then I saw you on Thursday.
On Thursday, yes. Well, there we go.
So, yeah, like I said, don't see each other for ages, and then all of a sudden we're everywhere. So,
yes. Indeed.
Fantastic.
Indeed.
So, that was very enjoyable, my first visit to Seasonal Brewing Company. I thought that was, they've got a good setup there. It's a great little place right near your place. So,
glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, they have obviously everything sort of exposed, very industrial sort of setting.
Yeah.
On that, I suppose, being an evening, you sort of got to see so much of it. But yeah, they've got some wonderful little outside spots too, which you can go outside and have a quiet one. So I dare say it won't be your last time down there either.
It definitely will not be. It's a place I'll definitely head back to. So, mate, while we're there, speaking of brewing, what are you drinking?
Mate, I'm drinking from the Black Brewing Company. It's a Blackberry Ghost. So it's a blackberry fruity tart beer.
Just bring it over a little bit, mate. I can't quite see. There we go. Yeah, that's it.
It's an autumn release, which is quite interesting because that'll tie in what we're going to discuss after this. But essentially, welcome to autumn. Blackberry Ghost inspired the cool and autumn nights and the warm days, where the taste of the salty Australian summer still lingers on your lips. Apparently. Look, one thing that threw me, look at that. Look at the colour of that, Bish.
That's the wrong colour. Oh, no, that's about right. Yeah. Okay.
It's almost like a really deep rosé.
I had is the Black Brewing Company on the Gold Coast? Is that the one?
No. Brewed by Black Brewing Company. No, that's a WA one.
That's the one down in Murray River. Okay, because I had a Black and Hops.
Yeah.
Eggnog stout today.
Right.
That I picked up at the bottle shop.
And you've had that already?
Oh, I had that for afternoon tea.
Oh, fair enough. Was it good?
A piece of cake.
Did you dip your cake in it?
No.
Or did you pour it over your cake and have like a cake floater?
That actually probably would have improved it because it wasn't as good as I'd hoped for, given what we've had recently. So
you get that from time to time.
Yeah. So,
So anyway, what have you got now?
To say, I had that. What am I drinking? I'm drinking the new limited release from Gage Roads, Luke the Lupe, or whatever, which is a cryo hop IPA. Now, the guy at the bottle shop spoke about cryo hops as if I knew what I was talking about. And
sounds very scientific.
I think cryogenically frozen, a bit like, Michael Jackson is, and they're going to wake him up in 100 years or something when the technology's there. Is that true? Or have I bored you?
Let's go. Let's go with that. But
yeah. So yeah, I don't know what the cryo hop bit means, but it's a really crispy, really nice IPA, and it's actually really, really drinkable and really good value, like $26 for a 4-pack, and they are big cans. Given that also while I was at the bottle shop today, and I should have taken a photo of it because it was about all I could afford to do, I spotted a can that was... Are you ready for this,
I'm ready, yeah.
$45.99.
Oh, where's this going to stop?
Oh, well, I did say to the guy, is that correct? Is that for a 4-pack?
Yeah.
Because then I could maybe justify
it. The thing here, I can see this soon appearing on what gets our goats, and it's going to be the price of beer, because we are largely, as consumers, to blame for pricing because we accept it and we buy it.
Yeah. very, very true. So, yeah, well, I didn't buy it, I've got to say, because the funny thing was, because I thought I could probably buy it, get it home, not mention what it had cost until I spoke to you, and then I'd have to point it out, and then it's in the world that I've paid $45 for a beer, which I think is just nuts. So
for $45, you'd probably almost expect part of Michael Jackson inside the beer.
Well,
not that would actually entice me to buy it nor drink it, but it's ridiculous already.
It's there. It looked tasty. The guy said he'd been lucky enough to try one, as a work perk. But yeah, I'm not there. Anyway, that's just nuts. But here's cheers to you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Look at this. It doesn't even have a head.
No.
So is that really a beer?
Oh, there's plenty of sort of ghosty-like ones that don't get a head. Don't know. Yeah. So as always, people, put up a photo of yourself drinking a beer, or tell us what you're having a drink of as we speak, particularly if you've got something nice. But yeah, maybe the pricing has gone a little far, but
Do you think it's one of those strategies, isn't it, almost, where I know a lot of retailers, will opt to have 3 pricing levels. You'll have your expensive, your mid-range and your low price. And really you don't anticipate selling too much at the top level, but in fact it makes the middle tier look, very affordable.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there is, I hate to say it, but I think there's a fair amount. This is with alcohol in general, and I assume it's with other things. There's probably a portion in any market. Mate, you're in retail, so you know this better than I do. Matt's ahead of us on the subject of colonial. Matt, throw us some of your thoughts, because we are going to discuss that later. It does appear to be a little bit odd. So, all right, back on the thing. The pricing, there would be a part of any retailer, I think, wanting to go, or some retailers, I guess, or brands that go, the reason you drink it and you see you're drinking it is because we know it's expensive. And I can't deny there's probably in beer, in wine, in any other alcohol, there's that price. I mean, the joke when some of my mates were younger was, how do you know someone's had a good week at work? They're drinking Crownies instead of export or whatever. And it literally almost was that. Not that these beers taste any better or whatever, but they're just a bloke saying, I've got a bit of overtime, or my bonus came, or I'm doing good. And I think there's a little bit of that in every retail thing, including in beer. So, that's something I think we can come back around to at some point.
I think so. That's probably another show in itself. But we were just talking about this one being an autumn release. Like one of your mates down at Blaster, didn't they? I think the other day, you might have mentioned last week, sort of come at you with an idea where we should be looking towards maybe a spring beer of sorts. And it's got me to thinking, and I know it's got you to thinking as well. And we'd love anyone who may be watching, not only tonight, but through the course of the week, if they're playing a bit of catch up, to throw some suggestions in the comments of any potential ideas for a spring beer.
A spring beer, yes. So to run through it, I mean, I think there are definitely some summer ales. Some are better than others, as we know. There's some absolute rubbish summer ales out there. There's some really nice summer ales that are light, easy drinking, good in the sun. there is no doubt a whole range of autumn beers that we've been drinking a lot on this show, haven't we? You know,
we have, yep.
The red ales, the harvest ales, those sorts of things, and then of course the ghosts, and then I think into winter, obviously, man, stouts are everywhere. So, speaking to Josh at Blaster the other day, he said, you know, we need to brew a beer for spring, and it got me thinking, and even to him, I said, well, you know, what's a spring beer? I cannot think of any beer that is distinctly spring-like.
I think loosely you can think of some beer styles. You know, obviously it's a lighter beer, whether it be a pilsner or a wheat type beer.
Wheat beer, I guess, could have a bit of spring into it.
But I suppose thinking of concepts too, Bish. When I think of spring, my mind goes to AFL footy finals. So I'm thinking maybe the centre. Well, maybe they could actually brew the beer inside a big leather football, you know, and let it maybe while away in there for a little while, so it comes out smelling like a Sharon that's just been taken out of the box.
There is certainly a what's the word? A smell of spring and a feeling. When you've had a long winter, and this is something I hate the winter. I get quite annoyed with the lack of sun and so forth. So those first few spring days, and lucky enough in Perth, we get them quite early. You know, they start in August and go into September and whatnot. When, you know, I hate to use the old cliche, the smell of fresh cut grass. The footy's getting slightly better quality because obviously the grounds are drier and so forth. And finals are just around the corner and, you know, all the rest of it. That's the feeling you'd like to go for.
How do you capture it?
How do you capture it? I don't know. Our listeners are clearly smarter than us, but I'll tell you what, mate. I know two blokes, and one of them I'm talking to right now who could probably help with this. And that is obviously yourself and Brian could actually even beat Blaster to the punch and brew a spring beer. So,
yes. Look, I
research required.
Brian, are you listening? Are you out there, Brian?
I don't know if Brian's on, but he did ask if we were coming on. And even Matt Rigby's on tonight, I can see, and we'll come to his subject in a minute. But
Rusty's got something to add.
Rusty's always got something to say, mate, particularly when he thinks nobody's interested. The idea of it, I think is pretty good. So we just want some input from people on that as well. So
please do.
Please do. Input on flavours. We'd love to hear about it because I've got no idea and I want to know.
Now, whilst we're on beer, we're going to touch on what we discussed a little bit earlier around.
Should we do what gets you goat? Because I've got a feeling that it may well have got a few people's goat. So let's go with what gets you goat, and then we'll talk about Colonial as a what gets you goat subject for a bit of the listenership. How's that sound?
I think that's a good one.
Okay, so Shino, what gets you goat?
What gets my goat at the moment? A lot of mine's been sort of tech-based or service-based, and this is no different. But it's a really simple one, and it shits me. When, particularly in the workspace where we're getting group emails sent left, right and centre, and the amount of communications. But when you have people replying to all, when it's not necessary to reply to all, so you're privy to ridiculous fragments of conversations which don't even apply to you and just ties up your time.
Yes. Yes, and yes. So there's two things there. Emailing groups of people who don't need to know. Replying all, as you say. The other thing that is tremendously poor in that is that copying someone in just so I can either big note myself or point out how you have stuffed this up. And I want to make sure so-and-so knows. Now that
you're spot on.
Out of order.
That is out of order. It's like, it's the modern version of throwing someone under the bus.
It is literally an email whoosh. There you go, under the bus. It is, and it's done in such a way, I just thought I'd keep them in the loop. My ass. No, it's wanker-like behaviour.
It is. It's spineless behaviour.
It is, because if they've got a problem with what you've done, they should address it with you before they start involving others. So, mate, that is a very good what gets my goat, and I fully agree.
Excellent.
It's going to make mine seem absolutely trivial, right? This has been on my mind for a while, but I've had other getting of my goats being more pressing. But lately, what I'll do is if I take a little lunch break from work here at home, I'll check the news. Now, I no longer have Foxtel because I basically decided, because there was nothing on it, particularly once the footy stopped. There's no news channels available to me other than obviously the ABC do a pretty good 24-hour news. So you chuck that on, you get up to date with what's happening with the C-bomb, what's happening in America, what's happening locally, all the rest of it, right? Now, there's not enough news for 24 hours, so it repeats itself quite quickly, but you have your lunch and you watch a bit of news. Now, because there's not enough news for 24 hours, they keep playing different versions of the song I Am, You Are, We Are Australia. Now, I fucking hate that song. That song is hands down the worst song ever. And they just...
I mean, I don't think it wasn't even any good at any particular time.
No, and this is not like you've ruined the original or anything. See, the dog hates it too. Right. Now, it's a terrible song. The Seekers are overrated. There, I've said it. Right. Some song about a train, sleeping, whatever. What? So there's that. It's a terrible song. And then, not only that, but just the week or so after we had Camo on, they had people doing it with sign language. So...
We've got to find that footage. We need to.
Every time I saw it, I felt like ringing up Camo and saying, "Mate, you've got to switch to 24 now." So, yes, I don't know. Yeah, so that's what's getting my goat. It's fairly trivial, but. And then I tell you what, then you see occasionally people suggest that should be the national anthem. No, that should not be the national anthem. No. I don't know what should. I'm not
anything but that.
Anything but that. We could. Yeah. I'd rather have "Shut Up in Your Face" by So Dolce. So,
or something by Ostentatious.
Ostentatious could be good. What about "Reckless" by Australian Crawl? Yeah. Anyway, look, there's a couple of people that brought it up on the feed. We did discuss it beforehand. The colonial situation. Now, let's just back up the truck. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world that I think we all feel fairly bad about. And I'm pretty supportive of the whole Black Lives Matter thing. I don't claim to have a solution. I don't understand any of it. I don't quite know that forcing a smallish brewery in the southwest to change their name is necessarily going to change the world for the better. And and I have to say, and I'm not as across it as I probably ought to be, but from what I understand, the colonial people have been all class from the get-go. But it just does seem to me that
it seems really unfair to me. From what I can gather, Bish, is that it's simply a case of there's no correlation between the name they've chosen for their beer. Certainly not anything reflective of what's going on in a broader sense at the moment. Unfortunately, they just seem to be in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong name. And as much was said by Ben White today, who is as we said is your local
member, I might say,
and with Indigenous bloodlines himself, he's a very proud Aboriginal man, and he firmly does not believe that colonials should be forced to change their name. And you've got all these bottle shops, particularly in the eastern states, who are threatening, and not only threatening, but have removed the colonial product from their shelves, almost in an effort to blackmail.
Now, look, I'm very aware that consumer boycotts can be pretty powerful if you've got a company doing the wrong things, supporting the wrong actions, mistreating their employees. You name it. There's any reasons why a boycott would be worthwhile. This one, and let's face it, if we're going to go after names, should we get onto the Commonwealth Bank? Should we get onto? We should get onto the government, because honestly, they're not doing the right things on so many fronts. But I got to agree. To me, this seems like, and as I say, I'm sympathetic, very, very sympathetic. I think anyone who knows me would know that. But then I look at this and go, this is just seems like a bit of a massive overreach. I mean,
they're coming after the wrong people.
Exactly right. And look, I don't know any of these people. The one thing I really like about Colonial is you can open the whole top of the can and drink it like a cup. The beer is fine, but to me, why not go after any other company that? To me, I just think it's it reeks of.
It's almost like they're trying to seek publicity because they know it's going to get spoken about at a high level.
Oh, look, maybe, and I don't know what will happen, but to me, it's like, and my understanding is the name is about.
Actually, sorry, Matty Rigby's just said, what about Colonial First State? Absolutely.
Colonial First State, absolutely.
Anyone, how far do we go?
Well, it's exactly that, and I mean, it's you could make any sort of reasoning for the name. I mean, I understand that they're a pioneering brewery in a wine area, so perhaps they're I just
well, we'd love to get people's thoughts on that anyhow.
Oh no, I look, I'm with you, Sid. Like it does appear to be one bottle shop, but and maybe this is the problem with the current social media world. Sean Hitchcock has just pointed out coon cheese, and I have to tell a story here because when I was very young, talking about racism and casual racism, and I have to say, my parents, I reckon older, they probably bring out a little bit of racist stuff, but I don't think they're overly racist. But when we first moved to Morrowa, my dad's the cop in charge of the station, right? And the 2IC comes knocking on the door at about 7:30 one night, and I've gone out with Dad, and he goes, come on, Bisho, we've got to get going. Like, I've been in this town about 3 weeks, and I had very little contact at that point with any First Australians. And come on, Bisho, we've got to get going. The coons are fighting. And anyway, the cheese is fighting. I honestly did not know. And so Dad's hopped in the car and off they've gone to break up a fight and all the rest of it, as is the life of the country copper. And I said to Mum, Mum, what's that about? You know, she goes, oh no, coon is what people sometimes refer to it. But like I say, why aren't we boycotting that as a brand name? It's there's plenty of others, but I think it doesn't help the underlying cause.
It's almost a case of avoidance where people are looking for potential peripheral type issues that they can focus on because they don't want to deal with the real issue.
Well, is it the fact that perhaps we don't feel we can do enough or do anything? So we go, geez, we'll get on and we'll fight this fight, and we can go to bed at night going, well, we're part of the resistance or something. I don't know, but I just think it's I think it's overkill. And as I say, this is from someone who's sympathetic to what
that's right. Well, it's a case of not only overkill but entirely missing the mark.
I think so.
Missing the brief.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, we're not going to change it tonight. We know that for certain, but either way,
I have to say, I think it's overkill. I think it's stupid, and and once again, don't worry, the media will rev this up. I mean, let's face it, we just got 10 minutes of content out of it, but the media will rev this up into something that it's not. But
exactly.
But it has reminded me, we have a beer in front of us. We should be consuming it. So look, that's gotten on a few people's goats, and that's absolutely fair enough, I think.
I think I just noticed this. I was looking here. I see Sarah's joined us. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
You all know Sarah and Sean were on the show last week, which is a great show. In fact, got a fair bit of positive feedback.
Yeah, thank you again, guys.
From the show last week, which I've had numerous messages to my inbox, and I spoke to Sean just the other evening too, and Sarah. Sean mentioned he'd received some feedback from some people within the running community and other friends who have watched. I think we've got up to over 1,000 views, I think, Bish, which is tremendous.
Really?
So hopefully...
Did you just constantly run it at work or something like that? Is that?
Yes, I've had it on a loop all week. But which is really wonderful. So big thanks to Sarah and Sean yet again for that. As I said, if it makes a difference in just one person's life, then it was well worth doing.
Absolutely. No, thanks once again. And I thought it was a great night of chat. And if people want to go back and watch it, it will be on YouTube soon. I did mean to do it last week, but I forgot the password. Shino sent it to me and then I haven't got around to it. So it will be done. So look, it's not being suppressed. There is no conspiracy here, but that does bring us to our regular segment on conspiracy theories. And have you had any new conspiracy theories come across?
Mine's not so much a conspiracy theory as such, Bish, but I don't know if you saw the thing I posted on Facebook. I just shared it from somebody, and it was relating. It was a picture of a shoe, and it was asking people to say what they saw. People were reporting to see the shoe in different colours. I think it was what was it? Green and grey, I believe, and white and pink. And apparently, it's to do with what side of your brain.
Yeah, left and right brain. Yeah, I did see it, and someone else showed it to me on Saturday too. Yes.
Yeah, so which is quite interesting, and usually I would not be a believer of such things, but there have been a number of people who I utterly trust and hold their opinions and thoughts with such high respect. So I know that they are not trying to pull my leg at all, and they have stated to me that quite clearly they have seen it in different colours. So I'd like to know a little bit more than that. We've had a few people post. I think Shuggy, he was quite annoyed. I don't know if you saw Shuggy. He got a bit fired up. He was not happy that these types of things are being shared on social media. But I would love to know a bit more science around it. If anyone can.
So why is he not happy? Just out of interest, because I got somewhere to go with this. But you tell me first.
He's not happy because he certainly doesn't believe I think his very words were, he calls bullshit.
Right. Okay. Because I quite clearly see it as green and white, right? So, and nothing else will tell me different. But I just wonder where these things suddenly come from, because there's been a few of them over the years, and the other ones that come up an awful lot. And I know we're not doing Wanker of the Week this week, and I know I'm going to lose a lot of people on this, but people who share the quiz, what spirit animal are you? What this and that are you? And then, right, there's a lot of this shit goes around. And here's a little bit of a conspiracy because everyone turns around and goes, oh, well done, somebody's just mining your passwords. And I'm like, is that really true as well? Or is that just another conspiracy?
Mm.
So I can't really, I can't really sort of, but you just see them all the time. And obviously they've absolutely proliferated while people have been more working from home and perhaps not going out as much, because we seem to be all on Facebook far more. So maybe I'm seeing them more, but I just find them, where do they come from? Who decides to put up this picture of the the green and white sneaker, and what was it, the blue and gold dress before?
Yeah.
And then there was the I was going to say Isaac or Fuzz, but that's a Machine Gun Fellatio song. But there was the thing, if you played it and certain people heard one thing, and so where do these things come from? I mean, what's the thing with it?
What's the attraction with it? Obviously there's something there because we're all talking about it. We're all doing it.
Yeah, and they do go viral, as we know. So, so I don't know. But look, I wanted to bring up a little bit of not a conspiracy theory, but a conspiracy icon who would appear to be responsible for just about everything, if you believe certain conspiracies. And the man I want to nominate here, George Soros. Have you heard his name?
No.
No. If you dig deep enough in a lot of, so we're talking right-wing conspiracies here. So, for example, and not right-wing conspiracies, theories, if you like. So theories from people who would identify on the right of politics. So the protests and the riots, etc., that are going on in the United States are all bought and paid for by George Soros. So he just pays people to go out and protest. Right now, when you think about that, that's, and I mean, if you can get money to stand in the street with a sign, sign me up, please. That's one of the theories. So he is kind of like, for people who live on the right of politics, and I hate this right and left thing because it just sort of seems to really, why not just think about what's actually right, or what's correct, or what's factual here. Oh God, Felix has really, really blown my mind.
Oh, Felix.
Yes. So anyway, but he's kind of the devil on that other side of things. So if things are going on, he's the man. In fact, on Wikipedia, where is he? He's mentioned as Hungarian-American investor, has been the subject of conspiracy theories since the 1990s. Soros has used his wealth to promote many political, social, educational and scientific causes, dispersing grants totaling an estimated $11 billion up to 2016. So he's what do they call him? A philanthropist. However, theories tend to assert Soros is control of a large proportion of the world's wealth and governments, and that he secretly funds a large range of persons and organisations for nefarious persons such as Antifa, as Felix just mentioned, and which the conspiracy theorists claim is a single far-left militant group. They're not really that tightly organised. And such ideas have been promoted by Viktor Orban, who I've never heard of, Donald Trump, who you will have heard of, Rudy Giuliani, Bill O'Reilly, who's an American, got a couple more viewers than us, but he runs a similar type of show. Alex Jones, tinfoil hat people, basically.
Is Peter Evans' name mentioned?
No, but Peter Evans probably thinks George Soros is trying to sort of,
encroach on his
freedom to sell vulnerable people light boxes. So, but I heard his name come up in relation to something. But like I say, he's the kind of person that makes people, say Trump supporters, head explode, because allegedly, if it's happened because of him. Now, I'm always of the view that, you know, for three men to keep a secret, it's better that two of them are dead. Usually someone at some point will talk, and someone at some point will say, yeah, I got paid a lot for this, you should do this. And like I say, as Felix said, he's still waiting for his Antifa check. I broadly identify as anti-fascist. I'd like some of that Soros money, if it's going, unseen. So that's what I wanted to bring up as far as conspiracy theories go. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, do you have any more of the conspiracy theories, though, that were proved true? Have you still got that list?
Let me have a quick look. I think, where did we get up to, Bish?
Well, I think we did, what was it? Had a number 2. The one about, God, this is great, isn't it? Memory's gone. That'd be the chemtrails.
Here we go. Okay, I've got it up. Well, I've got the thing up on here.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We are at, we've done John Lennon. The government is spying on you. We knew that. Big Tobacco knew that cigarettes cause cancer.
Yes. Hey, can I stop you there? Before you go any further, Jeff Hampton just posted a ripper, and we haven't covered it, and I thank you profusely, Jeff.
Well, let's do that with Jeff, because these other ones aren't particularly...
Aren't they great? Okay. The conspiracy theory that Australia doesn't exist. Have you seen this?
No.
There is a conspiracy theory that Australia doesn't exist. Now, I can't remember there can't be any logic behind it. But it's all this thing that, no, we don't exist. We're just this... I can't even go, what's to be gained by not having us? Well, I mean, there's plenty of people who wouldn't miss us, but Australia doesn't exist. We might have to get Jeff on just to talk about that one specifically at some point.
I'd like to see in what context that was written, because are they essentially saying we don't exist, as in we don't matter, because we are
no. Just literally, let me just. Here we go. Google is our friend here. Australia doesn't exist, and people who live there are actors paid by NASA. Now, I got to tell you, I haven't had any of my Soros money. I definitely haven't had any of my NASA money. But it appears to me that there's a lot of back pay coming, because there's a growing number, and this is flat earthers, a growing number of people who seem to think that the world is in fact flat. But it gets better. They also insist that Australia is one big hoax. According to a viral Facebook rant, the entire country, and presumably the 24 million people that live there, is completely fact. The idea resurfaced at some recent gathering of the so-called flat earthers in Birmingham recently, where over 200 people came together to confirm to each other that the Earth is nothing more than a giant pancake. I hope they didn't cover their blood.
Obviously, it wasn't a meeting of the minds.
No. Well, they came from all corners of the globe, though.
Well,
yes, we're all actors and people. It's all done on a set somewhere in Nevada.
You know, Jeff would love that concept. Obviously, being involved in the stage and in acting.
Oh, that's it.
I mean, maybe Jeff has been acting. Maybe we should put this back to Jeff. What's Jeff's take on it?
Well,
maybe Jeff thinks it's all a big stage and Jeff's just playing his role.
It comes back to the old situation where the convicts weren't really shipped off here. They were just put in boats and drowned, right? So they didn't go anywhere. It's a cover-up of a mass murder. And then if you think you've been to Australia, you're terribly wrong. This is just...
So who do they think beat them in the America's Cup, Bish?
Well, actors. It's all part of the elaborate hoax. That was just a plot point.
What?
I don't know where they think. What's his name come from? Felix, the paid actor pretending to be from Australia. Have you seen your check yet?
Well, you know, the funny thing being is probably one of our most famous exports across to America, being Paul Hogan, was in fact an actor. Was an actor.
Well, case closed. Case closed.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, now we know. So there you
Hugh
go.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, an actor.
Nicole Kidman.
An actor. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Case closed.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I'm coming around. So, no, that's a ripper. I love that. I just like the fact that they go, well, what happens to the people who quite clearly have travelled here? Oh, no. That was just an elaborate ruse. Like, that is just such a big ruse to put on. Like, that is massive. Yeah, unpaid actor. I
love that.
Well, all the world's a stage, and now we know we're involved in the. So next time you meet a tourist, make sure you give them a full-on operatism, just in case your accent flips and they realise they're really in Nevada.
Well, I think when we talk about life being a stage, it really is, though, isn't it?
It is, mate. We're just here to convince people from the Northern Hemisphere that this whole big thing is just a joke. That Australia is an elaborate hoax. Well, there's parts of it that probably are. So I'm glad Jeff brought that up. I really did.
That was a good one.
Jeff,
Thank you,
I have to give praise to Jeff. He does bring so much material to us, either during the week or on the show.
I do believe, look, I do think look, Jeff, I don't know if you're available to do so. I know you often have your intervals on a Tuesday night. In fact, why are you not running intervals tonight, Jeff? That's what I want to know.
but he's just got home in time. Now, he's mentioned the old 4D chess. Yeah, the old Trump's playing us on so many levels that he's so smart that we think he's dumb. I do love that one. It's a ripper. So we spoke about last week's show, so I just wanted to mention again. It's important if you're struggling a little and whatnot to get in touch with someone, to reach out, to have a chat, get involved. We're glad you joined us for a chat, and we're glad you joined us last week. And please,
and we popped Sarah's details up on the page too. So
we appreciate her input last week, as well as Sean's. I mean, Sean's definitely got a lot to offer in that department. So
he's a very open and honest fellow, Sean, and wears his heart on his sleeve, and which is wonderful. So,
and coming up, we're going to discuss another subject that's very near and dear to.
Well, wasn't this interesting, Bish? And wasn't it funny how we came across this the other day? We've known each other a number of years, but just sitting down there at Blaster the other week, just having a general discussion, just talking about life and growing up and the rest of it. And then we both come to the realisation that we were both adopted.
Absolutely.
Which isn't particularly uncommon, particularly of people of our vintage back in the very early 70s, etc. So, you look back and you're seeing what's going on in a broader sense now, and has been going on for years, around stolen generations, etc. And it's probably almost, it runs a parallel to that. I'm not suggesting it's the same thing at all. But, it was that moment in time where was a fair bit of that going on. And, I've got to say my own personal experience is a positive one. And we'll talk more about this next week, as I know Bish will. But I think we would love anyone out there who has a story, who maybe adopted themselves. If so, when you found out, share some of your stories surrounding that. Or maybe you might be a parent who's adopted a child as well. We'd love to hear that.
I'd absolutely love to hear that story. Or stories from the other side of it. As you say, I've met many people over the journey who are adopted, and so I've heard a lot of people's experiences about that. But yes, certainly to hear it from the other side of the fence would be wonderful. So we're asking for your stories. Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable sharing them, that is also okay. But it's just something we thought we'd talk about. I think there's a little bit of humour and love in ours. As you say, the experience is overwhelmingly good, so don't expect...
and not only some humour, and also just some very unusual things that occurred as well, which are
absolutely.
A little bit strange, almost Twilight Zone-ish.
Yeah, there's almost that as well. So that's something we're going to talk about next week. And I mean, depending on who gets in touch and other people's stories, I think we might run it not necessarily back to back, but as a bit of a two-parter. It's Gino and I talking about it next week, and then somewhere down the track, maybe some others coming on to share their stories.
Beautiful.
We'll see how it goes. We'll be guided, exactly. I guess, by the like we were tonight, guided by what people bring to us and what seems to have some legs. So tune in for that. If you've got a story, please come forth. That'd be great. If you want to, mindful of it's sensitive for some people. Yeah, so, good. Mate, we're just about there, I think. We didn't do a wank of the week this week, and the main reason being people do appear to have gone into two camps. Those that have just tidied up their behaviour a little bit, and obviously this show has put people on notice that that sort of behaviour will not be tolerated. And then, of course, there are people who've probably just gone off to the extreme where joking about their behaviour is is probably not really the go. They've exceeded the brief, and those people know who they are, and they need to take a good look at it. So that format will be back, or that segment will probably be back next week, including, assuming people return to their wankish ways. I can't imagine people being super behaved for longer than a week. Can you,
I can't see it happening. I think it's all aligns itself. Is it a full moon again next week?
Oh, I'm sure soon enough. There will be more. Yeah, there is a slight drop off, but as I say, people are tending to behave themselves, so we'll see how that goes. Now, time for a rating on the beer, mate.
Yeah, look, this is a really unusual beer, and
can I say this? You've been going fairly slow on that.
I'm struggling to get it.
I've got a feeling you don't like it.
Yes, so I think it's probably written all over my face, and there's not too many beers that I don't like. But I was kind of hoping this was our quickest show, so I could go and tip it down the sink. But
come on, move on to the next segment.
But you've been holding on as long as possible because you've been enjoying my suffering, haven't you, Bish?
I want to make the show last, so you've got to drink a lot.
So, look, I've got to say, number one, I don't think I'll be having one of these again. And I don't truly think it's just because it's from this particular brewer. I don't think it's the beer style that's for me.
It's a style.
But,
how are you with sours?
I don't even think it's a beer. I mean, they can call it a beer, but that's not a beer. That's like a cross between a rosé and a cider.
Right.
But way too tart for me. And yeah, I'm going to give that a 1.5.
Okay.
And you, Bish?
I think you've been. I know you didn't like it, but I think you ought to be a little fair and say that could be a little bit on you in terms of not liking the style. Is that a fair point?
Oh, look, it's not a little bit on me. It's possibly all on me. I mean, there's probably people out there who actually really enjoy that style.
Now, to be fair, can we go back around a little bit? How are Black Brewing Co. getting away with it if Colonial can't?
Well,
I rest my case, Your Honour. Okay, yes.
And you, Bish?
Yes, well, to remind everyone, I had the Gage Roads Loop. Now, I'm still not entirely convinced this is a craft beer anymore, because obviously Gage Roads now is a big brewery. You get their beer, you could get their beer at the stadium before it was abandoned. And obviously they have their, their mid-street single fin that they serve at the stadium, which actually isn't too bad for a mid-street beer. So it's kind of borderline craft, isn't it? It's still locally owned, still fairly small, I guess. This is fantastic. Really easy drinking, crisp. As I said earlier, the guy at the bottle shop mentioned cryo hop as if I knew what he was talking about. And I must do my homework more, but I'm not by any stretch of the imagination a beer expert other than in terms of what hops do what, other than I know what I like. I really like this. I'm going 4.5 stars. It's a cracking beer. It's crisp, easy to drink, refreshing, and funnily enough, a nice change almost after the stouts and so forth that I have been hammering lately. So it's nice to have a spring beer. I don't know if it's a spring beer, but back to an IPA or that sort of thing. So yeah, 4.5 for mine. It's a cracker.
Beautiful.
Get some of it in here. It's really good. So
excellent.
So mate, have you got anything more to add?
No, mate. Look, that's us for now. I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. yeah, I would love to hear back from everybody. In particular, remember for next week's show, if you have any stories around adoption,
And please don't forget to share what you've been drinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe get a colonial in you, I suppose. So that's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Oh, there we go. The old comedy classics. Or are we allowed to mention the two Ronnies anymore? I mean, is that you can't talk about Rolf Harris anymore? So I suppose it's anyway.
Do you reckon they would have known one another? Surely they would have.
They would have known what was going on.
They would have known one another. Two
Yes.
Ronnies and Rolf. I mean, that's almost like, was it Prince Andrew and his association with...
Oh, yeah, that stinks. Now, there's a conspiracy for you.
Correct. Maybe we need to touch on that more next week.
We'll talk about that next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
See you, mate.